Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the Sandeman Street podcast, a podcast about Dundee and Dundee United from fans of both clubs. I'm Andrew and back with my regular co-host Jack. Jack, how are we after a fortnight off?
I'm good, mate, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I've actually had a comment about our introduction from somebody who listens, because there is a few people who do listen, and they say that we're all nice and polite to begin with, and then we start speaking about Dundee and United and referees and whatnot, and we go full on Dundee. But I'm glad you're okay, mate. I obviously mentioned it's episode 40, but it's also our last and latest Dundee Derby special of the season. So in the United corner we have Martin.
How's it going, mate? Alright, looking forward to getting back to Tannadice on Sunday for the first time since November last year against Aberdeen.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're actually going.
I am.
And in the Dundee corner we have Neil.
How we doing, lads? Good to be back.
Good to have you back. Just before we get into everything, as I always ask, if you could find our stuff on social media. On Twitter we are at SandemanSTPod. On Instagram we are at the Sandeman Street Pod, and on YouTube we are at the Sandeman Street Podcast. So if you could find those, give us a like or a subscribe, retweet our tweets, put the stuff in your story, all that jazz. It really would be a big help to us, and it is much appreciated. But into the stuff that we missed last week when we had the week off because we were slacking. Jack, United all but secured their Premiership status for next season with a 3-2 victory over Livingston. Tell me all about it.
It was a game, I would say, of two halves. I think United were probably the better team the first half. Ferry getting his second goal in two weeks, considering he hadn't scored any goals previously before that. That's quite good going. Second half, we switch off and they punish us. Juvu tries to clear the ball. Instead, I don't know what he does. Instead of putting it out the pitch, he tries to pass it up the pitch, and the Livy player gets on the end of it, plays in Lewis Smith, makes it 1-1. Then a quick break from Livy again. Lewis Smith makes it 2-1. A quick counter by United. Christian Crestes manages to get a header, and then in the 94th minute, United get a penalty, and Zach Sapsford manages to send the keeper the wrong way and get the 3 points for United.
And obviously, whilst you guys were scoring your injury time penalty, we were missing ours, but more on that later. Martin, is there anything that you would like to add to that? Any meat on the bones, shall we say?
Nothing really, yeah. Just only seen the goals from the game. I didn't see any highlights, wasn't at the game. Just sounded like the sort of performance that we've put in all season. We managed to grind out a win, but it was nothing fancy. But you know what, at this stage of the season, 3 points is 3 points. I don't care how it comes about, I'll take it.
To bring you in, Jack, all but secure Premiership status. So going into the split, you've obviously got the derby, you've got a big game against Aberdeen, but it's kind of going through the motions now. We can't see United getting brought into that. There's too many variables for that to happen, isn't there? Surely.
Yeah, I think we've got our safety now. Hopefully we can try and bed in some of the youngsters now that we've got, knowing that safety is all but guaranteed. It'd be good to see Cleo Harding get back in the squad. Obviously Stirton's just been recalled from Airdrie. His loan never succeeded there, so he can maybe get some game time for us as well in the last few games, and hopefully we can still finish as high as possible with the remaining fixtures in place. It's good to know that we're going to be safe and playing in the Prem next season, and I think now is the best time to get them youngsters in the squad, so why not do it?
I was interested to hear your take on that, because I might be remembering this all wrong, but I'm pretty sure when one did end up going out to Airdrie, obviously you've got that agreement with them, that you were quite critical of that because you thought that he would end up just coming back anyway, and that has proved to be the case. Am I right in saying that, or am I making that up inside my own head?
I can't remember. At the time it seemed like a good loan, but he was a player where I feel like he probably could have contributed more than Waters has, and I think we had a couple of injuries at the time that the loan happened. So I felt he could have contributed more for us than he would have obviously been out on loan at Airdrie. And as it's turned out, I was probably right with that he couldn't usurp Chris Mockray out of the Airdrie team, and so his loan there has been basically a failure, and so he probably would have been better off just staying at United and making the odd sub-appearance for the first team.
Yeah, if they're going out, then they have to play. They have to play every minute, or as many as possible. And if they're just going to go on loan and sit on the other team's bench, then they'd be as well just sit on yours. And especially because they're sitting on your bench at a higher level, and when they do get minutes, they're exposed to better quality of minutes. But Martin, bringing you in, what's your hopes and expectations for the rest of the season? Obviously, big game this weekend coming up, so obviously that's not one way you'll go through the motions. But for the rest of the season, what are you looking to see?
I mean, there's nothing really much more to play for other than bragging rights. Obviously, we've got the derby against Hughes Lot on Sunday, and then the Aberdeen game, which is always a feisty affair. That one's up at Pittodrie in a few weeks' time. So the only thing we've got to play for in terms of league positions is prize money, really, which as a fan isn't really the most exciting prospect. Nobody's really thinking about that particular prize, if you want to call it that. But yeah, it's pretty much just bragging rights and want to finish the season strong. You never want to lose games, even when there's nothing to play for. You want to just see the team coming out in the last 5 games, playing good football, getting results, and just giving the fans something to cheer.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, obviously you're never going to want to lose to Dundee. We'll speak about that later on. Aberdeen as well, I suppose. I suppose that's maybe why the split is a good thing in a way, because it seems to keep games exciting. I would prefer to have a bigger league, because when you're getting into a position where United are, there always seems to be a team or one or two teams in the position that United are in this season going into the split. They have nothing to play for, but they're playing against the same teams that they've already played against 3 times already. It's just a bit bone and bland for me. I don't know what you think about that.
I think definitely it's got the potential to be boring and bland when there's nothing to play for. You know, you never want your team not to succeed and do as well as they can, but I'm kind of happy that we're in the bottom 6 in the sense that we've got probably better games. You know, you finish in that top 6, you've got a game against the 2 old firm teams that you're probably going to get hosed in. You've got Hearts that you're probably going to get beaten. Hibs are looking good, have done the whole season, so they'll probably get a result against you. And Falkirk, we can't seem to get a result against them unless they're down to 10 men. So yeah, I think the bottom 6 is actually going to be better off for us, you know, in terms of the actual games and the competition that we're playing with Dundee and Aberdeen. That's far more exciting than playing Falkirk and Rangers, for example. You know what I mean? It's good for me that the two of the 3 away games that I'll be able to go to are Kelly and St Mirren. Obviously, being in Glasgow, that's home games for me. So if I can make 3 of these 5 post-split games, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to next season. What's what you thinking? You think there's going to be a big revamp again, or do you think you'll stick with a lot and just add 2 or 3?
I really don't know. I mean, I think at the start of the season, I was, calling him the Messiah. I thought the recruitment was absolutely fantastic. The football we were playing early on this season was really, really good stuff. And had it went that way, you'd been looking at the summer and thinking, right, all we need to do is add a few fresh faces in to complement the team we've got, replace the good players that we've got on loan. But given how the season's ended, I think it's quite clear that we need to get, not an overhaul, but certainly more than just a couple of faces in to freshen things up. Whatever system it is Goodwin tries to play, the players that he's got at the moment aren't really doing it that very well, to be honest with you. So I think... I honestly don't know. I don't think we'll lose too many players, and I don't think we'll bring too many players in, but I think there will need to be some key signings, if you want to call it that, to really, players that we can build around. I think we need another central defender. We're definitely needing somebody out wide. Fata will be gone at the end of the season. He's gone already through injury. Lucas Stevenson will be gone. He's played out wide a lot this season. And I think definitely another striker, because if Owen Sturton's been getting loaned out to Airdrie this season, is he going to be ready to sort of play regular first team football next season? Potentially, but potentially not. So yeah, they'll need to get a couple of big players in for the squad, but I think it'll just be adding to what they've got already.
Yeah, and moving on, we'll bring you in just now, Neil. Dundee with the 2-2 draw away at Kilmarnock. We spoke about it on the phone the other day. You seem to think that Dundee didn't probably even deserve a draw. I would probably kind of half agree with you on that. I think with they had a lot more shots at goal and whatever at Kilmarnock, if you actually do look at the stats, which obviously a lot of us don't tend to do, because you're really judging it on what you see with your eyes, probably more the feeling you get for the game. But what was your overall thoughts on that game? Obviously it's disappointing what happened at the end, but to come away from there not getting beat's probably a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought it was before the game, it was definitely a must not lose game. And at the end of the game, you can't help but be unbelievably angry, to be honest with you. And that stems from the last minute penalty miss to Falkirk as well. It's 2 on the bounce now. You've got United there scoring last minute penalties and us missing them. Would have been a massive get with jail free card played. But, since the United game at Dens, we've had hard games, don't get me wrong, but kind of going back, I'm kind of going back to the feeling of the start of the season, which isn't great because we've had such a good middle part, or at least an improved middle part. But yeah, the game itself was pretty poor. I always tend to try not to judge Dundee too much on that absolute ridiculous pitch, because how they could be expected to compete with a team that's playing on that, training on that every single day. It looks like a blinking indoor 10-pin bowling rink. It's just absolutely disgusting. And the fact that they expect boys, grown men, to play on that pitch is just, at a Premiership level, is ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, the game itself wasn't good. Kilmarnock, it's hard to say they deserved to win the game, but we certainly didn't, I didn't think. But like you say, when you get a last minute penalty, you think, Christ almighty, yeah, getting out of jail free here. But yeah, not good. It's not been really good since the derby.
Just a wee side note there, because you were mentioning Killy's pitch. Do you remember about 20 odd year ago when Dunfermline had their one? And their one was obviously, as I say, 20 odd year ago, so the technology of the pitches wasn't as advanced as it is now. And you used to see players wearing the indoor kind of dimpled trainers on that one. It was that bad. And it was not like loads and loads of just square patches like stapled together. If you remember that one at all.
Yeah, I do. I do remember them getting approved it, and I'm not too sure, but did they not get told to rip it up because they got into Europe?
Yeah, I think so.
I can't mind, but yeah, obviously technology's massively improved to that. But I mean, you look at Livingston's, as much as I don't agree with it, that pitch suits Livingston because obviously they're going to be coming up and going back down most years, and they can't afford to go grass because they make far too much money out of it during the week, and that's fine to a certain degree. I just personally don't think you should be allowed in the Premiership if you've got a plastic pitch. It's as simple as that. We spoke about that before. You can't be both. You've got to either go all out and you want to be a big boys team, or you don't. It's as simple as that. But that Killie pitch, I know they're ripping it up this year, so obviously they're not going to be putting any money in it. But that's been awful now for years, not just this year. And yeah, Kilmarnock, like I said, they want to be classed as the so-called big team or one of the bigger teams, which is utter nonsense in my opinion. But yeah, get rid of that pitch long. Can't wait to see the back of it. Put it that way.
But go back to the game itself. It was a slow start for Dundee. And they go 1-0 down, really sloppy goal. I mean, it's a wee bit fortuitous if you're a Kilmarnock with the deflection skipping right up, but a decent enough finish on the ball in the volley. They get themselves back into the game, Dundee, where the first time Ugan manages to get past the right back and he puts in one of his better crosses this season and Simon Murray scores a good striker's goal. He then thinks he's put us 2-1 up, and I don't know about you, I think this might be incredibly harsh to a lot of people, but in my opinion he's got to get himself on side. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's laziness from him to allow himself to be offside, and it is very tight. But in my opinion, when you see Ethan Hamilton shaping up the shoot from 35-40 yards, you've got to make sure that you are absolutely on side for that rebound coming in. He does well to get to the rebound, but he's obviously half a yard offside, so it's unfortunate. And not too far long after that, we'll go 2-1 down, another really kind of sloppy goal. I don't know what it is about Dundee. They're the worst team in the world at clearing their lines, and you think that would be one of the most simplest things in football, to put the ball in the air as far away from your goal as possible. You would think that would be simple, but it's a poor clearance from Billy Cometio, who was obviously in for Astley, and the boy gets the goal. One of the things that I find incredibly frustrating about Dundee is their midfield, but the gap between their defenders and the midfielders seems to be like a chasm. Now, we've praised all season Danda, we've praised all season Hamilton, the boy Cotterill's coming and being steady, Jones has had steady games, the majority of the players that have played in the middle of the pitch have been steadily enough exceptional in Hamilton's case, and Danda's had his moments, but for some reason we seem to get picked off in the middle, the gap between the midfielders and the defenders far too often, in my opinion. It's a major problem. People find space in that all the time, and none more than that Kelly second goal. It really was poor. Moving on.
Yeah, I would agree, Andrew. Sorry, cut you off. I would absolutely 100% agree with that. That sort of, when I played, it was called that kind of spoiler role, and it seems to be nobody kind of wants to play it. And as far as the clearances go from inside the box, it seems to be only, anyone seems to John Smith it out the park is when you're winning or drawing and you're absolutely, hanging on for dear life at the end of the game. I don't care what minute it is. Scottish football, nobody goes to watch Scottish football for their Pep Guardiola prettiness. They go to watch their team win at the end, first and foremost. And if you get a bit of pretty football, then you've won a watch, especially being a Dundee fan. But just get out the ball, just clear it. I don't understand this. I mean, you see in the Premiership, the English Premiership, want to play it from the back, and they can't even do that. So what chance have we got?
I know. The thing is that I didn't mind your goalie getting the ball, giving it to defenders, and your defenders passing the ball through, and you work your way up the pitch, or defenders passing out from the back, or whatever fancy term you want to call it. I'm not saying that I disagree with any of that in terms of if they're wanting to try it, but it's more the ones that we just cannot seem to clear. Like, for example, it was a cross from maybe Curtis on the left-hand side for Kilmarnock. He puts the ball across the face of the goal, and Cometio, he just has to lace the ball up the pitch and get it as far away as possible, but it's like a kind of half clearance, and it lands like 25 yards from our goal line. You get the ball to the halfway line and then get the team up the pitch and restart the game again and go again. I just don't know how they don't manage it, and they're constantly getting caught on the ball and dithering on the ball, and just clear it. Like I just say, play pretty football to your heart's content, but clear your lines when you have to clear your lines. And in occasions like that where the ball's coming across the face of your goal from a cross ball and you're clearing it away, clear the ball properly, then clear the ball 20 yards up the pitch. Yeah, we managed to get ourselves into the game, which funnily enough, somebody says to me, you're losing faith, aren't you here, Andrew? And I turn around and goes, yeah, I'm losing faith. And about 20 seconds later, the ball was in the net and we were drawn 2-2. So, maybe a lesson to me to not chuck the towel in too early, because still had loads of time. And then it was a bit nip and tuck towards the end. I'm not saying for a second here that anybody should have been sent off. For exactly, if anybody should have been sent off, it was the boy Tishbola, because he was fouling upon fouling upon fouling, and the referee was being really, really, really lenient with him. Now, I didn't really mind that so much, but there's got to be a point where you've got to book people, and he did eventually book him, but the problem was he booked him on about his sixth foul, and then he still got another 2 or 3 of them before he was even going close to getting sent off, and Neil McCann hooked him. He should have been off, to be honest with you. Going back to what I was saying previously, I actually probably disagree with myself. He should have been off. And then...
Andrew, I would say it wasn't a dirty game in terms of, like, leg breakers.
Just niggly fouls.
It was just, they were just a dirty team, because they knew they couldn't compete with Dundee, ball down and all that, even though Dundee were rubbish. But, they're maybe thinking previous weeks when Dundee actually played not too bad, and they knew they couldn't compete with Dundee on a footballing level, so they just wanted to kick lumps at boys. And without any of them being up, disgusting bad challenges. It was just foul, like you say, foul after foul after breaking up the play, and stopping the game at any given point. And as I said earlier, it was not, they didn't. I wouldn't say they deserved to win, but like you said, Dundee certainly didn't either. That's how bad Dundee were.
I think a draw was a fair result in the end, to be honest with you. What I was going to do is I was going to open the discussion to everyone, because, I don't know about yourself, Martin. I know that Jack always does watch back the Dundee highlights purely for the podcast, not purely because of enjoyment or entertainment purposes. But the VAR check at the end for Dundee's then penalty, to begin with, it's soft upon soft for the award of the actual penalty. But then what goes on from there is just shambolic.
Are you surprised? Yeah.
No, I'm not surprised in the slightest.
That's the thing, I must admit, I've not seen any of the highlights from the Dundee game. I didn't see the goals or anything. I did hear that there was a bit of a hoo-ha with this penalty at the end, and what the Dundee boy had to go through was ridiculous, sort of. But again, it's just sounds like Michael Stewart is the incompetency of the referees in this country, is it? And the VAR teams that are behind the cameras here. It's just, you can only look and wonder at what these people are getting paid to do sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just, when I was younger, I used to always think that referees were pro Celtic and Rangers, and you know what? There's definitely something to that, I think. But when you get older and a bit more wise, you just realise the referees are just incompetent in this country. That's it. You know what I mean? They're hopeless. They really are.
To paint a picture for you before anyone else comes in of what actually happened. So Dundee get a penalty for a cross ball, and at the far post Scott Wright's coming in. He's never getting there, but I think it's Jamie Brandon puts a hand on him and he falls over. Every striker in the world does it, and it's, you know what, the sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. And in my opinion, even as a Dundee fan, it's not a penalty. I did claim for it. You claim for everything at that time of the game. It's the last minute of the game. The referee gives the penalty, it goes to a VAR check. Now, at first, obviously in the ground, when you're in Scotland especially, and I know it's bad in England for this as well, even though they've moved on a wee bit now and they've got referee announcements and they've got big screens showing you stuff and whatever, but not many teams in Scotland can afford big, huge LED screens in their stadium to show you what's going on. And that's no fault of Kilmarnock in the slightest, because they clearly can, and that's not a dig in the slightest. The stadium announcer telling you what's going on. So at first he says VAR check for possible penalty, for penalty foul. So they're obviously checking whether or not it's a foul. Now, I was 99.9% certain that was never going to go. That was one of the ones where you probably should overturn it, but because of this all clear and obvious pish, they didn't do it. Now, I reckon if you put 10 people in a room with no affiliation to either team there and said, what do you think there? Is that a penalty? I reckon 8 out of 10 people would say not a penalty and 2 people would say penalty. The referees obviously don't go against the decision, so then they're now checking for offside. Now, I don't know if this is correct, but from all the different VAR shows I've watched where you hear the audio and blah blah blah, they always say that APP, which is attacking phase of play. Now, I'm pretty positive they check that first, so they'll check if things are offside, if there's a foul in the build-up, that you would then pull it back to that instead of the penalty, all that sort of thing. So they then say, the stadium announcer says, attacking VAR check possible offside. So I'm thinking, well, surely they would have checked that first. So that went on and on and on and on and on. And then all of a sudden, the referee's signalling to go to the monitor. Now, obviously he says VAR check penalty first, then says VAR check offside. So to everybody in the stadium, you would assume that he's cleared, the VAR have cleared the penalty. They're saying that the penalty is fine, but they're now going on the offside. The guy in the stadium announcer is clearly not getting fed information anymore because he's went quiet, so he's not telling you anything that's happening anymore. The referee goes over to the screen. Nobody has a clue what he's going to the screen for. It turns out, obviously, in retrospect, everybody knows, he's going to the screen because they don't have the technology, i.e. they don't have enough camera angles to determine whether or not he's offside. Because of the angles of the players, they couldn't put the lines down. So the referee had to go and with his naked eye make a decision on whether or not he was offside. It's absolutely baffling. Now, I have been an advocate of VAR for years. I was for years before it was even a concept. I wanted technology to come in and help. Now, I would 100% keep it in Scottish football, but it has to be the elite Champions League, World Cup, Premier League in England standard of VAR that we use. If we're not going to use that, we'd be as well not having it, because it's make it the refs in Scotland make themselves look stupid enough themselves. They didn't need the technology making them look even more stupid. And to be honest with you, I didn't feel sorry for refs very often, but I genuinely did feel sorry for that ref standing there waiting for his mate in VAR to tell him whether or not was going on. It's an absolute shambles, and in the end, the boy Wesley has to wait, I think it was like 9 minutes or something it took for him to eventually get to take the penalty. See, in that scenario, Neil, I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, the keeper is always diving, because it's the last minute of the game. You run up and you lace the ball in the middle. None of this finding corners, trying to be clever. You just run up and leather the ball in the middle of the goal. The keeper's always diving.
Yeah, I would agreed with most of what you said there, apart from the VAR. I suppose I agree with the fact that the VAR's making Scottish football look even more stupid than it already did before. The referee side, that is, they're getting involved when they didn't need to get involved. They don't get involved when they're supposed to be. Like that Motherwell incident the other week there at Sandeman. You know, how you get that wrong with VAR. I understand the referee can't see it, but I'm using that as that's probably one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in my entire life in football. And they still got that wrong. So, in my opinion, get rid of VAR and just go back to the usual West Coast bias referees, because at least you know what you're getting when you pay your money and you go in at 3 o'clock. At least you know what you're up against right from the start. Whereas you've got all these boys hiding behind masks and blinking walls in the VAR booths. And as you said, I didn't feel sorry for refs very often at all. But in that circumstance, he's standing there on the pitch like a spare plum. No, he does the whole obligatory, index finger to the ear, pretending like he's listening in. All he's listening in is blinking 3 boys in that booth scrambling like hell to try and make heads or tails of this offside, because they've not got the technology for it. Now, the technology was clearly there for them to disallow Murray's goal, although it was a lot easier to spot with the naked eye. I mean, you didn't need to draw the lines for Murray, although it was close, but it wasn't as close. So that it might have not been working the whole game, and they just went, well, Murray one's pretty cut and dry, like. But yeah, just an utter embarrassment, really. I mean, I'm surprised it wasn't more sort of scrutinised in the media than it already was, like, because they must have just been laughing.
It was Kilmarnock against Dundee, so it gets like the obligatory 5 minutes on Sportscene and nobody else will talk about it. Like, I'll be in the bottom corner of about page 400 in the record or something like that. But with VAR, I think the genie's at the bottom now. I don't think you're ever going to get rid of it, and I know that there will be instances that people will be able to tell me about from the Champions League, the Euros, the World Cup. But see, when you see it, and understand that in those scenarios, those 3 competitions, you have elite referees. All the best referees in either Europe or the world are doing those games, and the VAR specialised referees as well. So you are going to get the best of the best doing it. But I don't know what anybody else thinks. Martin, especially, you don't watch a lot of like European football, English football. Jack, the same, but I know you do, Neil. And as I said earlier, there will be examples, but I can't remember very many of them where there's been like outrageous errors or things taking forever or things like that when I'm watching World Cup games with VAR use, or Euros games, or even at Hampden for Scotland games and qualifying matches. The VAR runs very, very smoothly, and then it transfers over to Scotland. And like, I understand that we've got pim shot VAR up here, but it was very similar to an incident that the one at Kilmarnock there last weekend, where Dundee played St Johnstone last season. I think it was Nicky Clark scored, and it was like really late in the game, and it was to win the game for St Johnstone. It was 2-1, I think they won the game in the end. And it was very, very similar. I'm pretty sure it was Nicky Clark scored, and I think he was offside. But the problem that they couldn't give the offside because they didn't have camera angles to prove it. So I remember Kevin Clancy standing there forever. He then goes over to the monitor. He watches the monitor. He doesn't even give anything. He brings the managers together. He explains to the managers that he's obviously not got the facilities to disallow the goal, so he's going to have to give it. And before he could even do the signal and give the goal, Simo Valakari runs away from him, celebrating towards St Johnstone fans, and that's how you found out what happened. And it's just not good enough. And Stephen Presley did touch on it. He says that the technology's got to improve. As I'm saying, you either have the best of the best and you pay for the proper facilities, or you didn't hate it at all, and you just go back to having a ref, 2 linesmen and a fourth official, and just work from that, because it's just embarrassing. Jack, I know that you've not spoken in a while. I don't know what your take on it is. I would imagine you'll have at least seen the highlights.
Yeah, I've seen the highlights, mate. It was it's probably not a foul, let's be honest. It is soft. The player's always going to go down in that situation, and the refs bought it at that point, and ultimately they've not been able to overturn it because of the VAR. And look, VAR's a big problem just now. Like you say, it's out the bottle, it's never going back in. But they do need to improve it because it's just not working the way I think it's meant to. Yes, it does make some right calls, and it probably makes more right calls than wrong, but the wrong calls it makes are terrible. I think it makes it worse because you can literally see the call they're making and it's wrong, whereas previously you would never see it because they would never show you the angles or whatever. But it is what it is, and it's not going to change anytime soon unless they make rules regarding how you can challenge it or how VAR can interfere or whatnot. But I don't see that changing much in the near future anyway.
And I tell you what, obviously we have touched on this in the past a few weeks ago. It's only going to get worse because I know that they're bringing in all these different rules for the World Cup, and the World Cup's obviously where new rules get introduced. Now, at that level, I don't think it'll be much of a problem because, as I say, you've got the elite of the best in terms of the refs there, so you'll probably get the games flowing relatively smoothly. But see, next season when VAR have got to decide whether or not a corner should be given or not in Scotland, it's going to be a complete and utter shambles.
Yeah, well,
Andrew, I was watching the Man City Arsenal game, right? And I don't agree with giving more responsibility to the VAR now. You know, with the second yellows in the corners, right? I don't agree with it, but a classic example of why people might agree with it yesterday was Arsenal boy was a mile offside, and you could see he was offside, but the linesman obviously holds down his flag and keeps it down, and the play goes on. Boy has a shot, and Arsenal get a corner out of it, right? Whereas, if the boy just lifts his flag because he's offside, the play doesn't go on and Arsenal didn't get a corner. You know what they're like with corners. They could easily scored from it. And that's one of the pros of checking for corners, because they would have went back to that and went, nah, he was offside, so that next phase of play didn't count. And obviously no corner. But it's just more time waiting about and letting robots decide a game.
Yeah, I do agree. See, my main issue is because I didn't mind them like coming in and giving and making sure things are done correctly. My main issue with it all is that you know what's going to happen towards the end of the match. They're not going to add the time on properly, so you're going to get more time wasted and less time added. So you're actually going to lose more time. And I reckon that I think the average for the ball being in play in a football match is like 50 minutes or something, like 52 minutes, something like that. You'll end up games creeping into the less than 45 minutes, in my opinion, and you'll have been watching less than a half of football when you're paying 30 quid for the privilege. Just before we move on, and I know that you mentioned the Arsenal Man City game, what about the boy Gabriel? How did he not get sent off? That's incredible. That's been a sending off for years, that when you do the wee head flick motion.
They've opened up a can of worms, Andrew, because they've done this a few times in the Premier League where they've no sent somebody off or given a decision where they should have. because of they think, oh God, we can't spoil a good game of football. Oh, can't take Gabriel off. That'll ruin the game. Right. Regardless of that, all that's going to happen is next week there'll be a boy for, Burnley that does it to somebody at Wolves, in a game that really most people will not give two monkeys about, and they'll go red card, and then there'll be uproar from everyone else in England and various other countries going, hold on a second here, you never sent Gabriel for that. What are you doing sending him off for that? And that's what happened. They've just backed themselves into a corner, the FA.
I'll tell you what, by the way, I'm not in the business of speaking about English football on a Dundee United podcast, and I'm also not in the business of sticking up for Erling Haaland. But Erling Haaland saved them, because see, if he was to do what all the rest of them do, Harry Kane and the likes, roll around the floor and kid on that he's been sniped for the top tier, he's off. But because Erling Haaland stays on his feet and looks at him and thinks, you're a fucking dick, because he is, it's actually got him booked, because Erling Haaland ends up getting booked as well. So yeah, I couldn't believe it when I seen that he's been said that the head to head's always been fine, but when you make the forward motion, that's been a red card since the dawn of time. But I couldn't believe it. But anyway, as I say, this is a Dundee and Dundee United podcast, so we will move on. Jack, I'll bring you back in because the latest weekend of our score predictions hasn't been a good one for you, my friend.
No.
So we had Dundee United versus Livingston and Kilmarnock versus Dundee, as we've been discussing. The full-time results were 3-2 United and 2 each with Dundee and Killie. For the United Livingston game, I went for 2-1 United and you went 3-1 United, so you weren't very far away, but we're both earned a point there. And for Kilmarnock versus Dundee, you went 2-0 Dundee and I went 2 each, so got the correct score. So 2 points there for myself, 0 for you. So 3 points for you over the weekend, 1 for yourself. That moves me on to 29 points and yourself on to 25.
Pulling away.
So I'm pulling away a bit in that challenge, but you have got four weekends, five games left in the season to catch up, so plenty of time left in that challenge. We'll just tick off the rest of the weekend's card, and obviously there was only 2 games this weekend due to being the Scottish Cup semi-final. A not so cracker of a derby between Dunfermline and Falkirk finished 0-0, with Dunfermline winning 4-2 on penalties, so well done to them. And on Sunday, Celtic were playing St Mirren, 2-2 after regulation time, with Celtic winning 6-2 in extra time. So Celtic versus Dunfermline in the Scottish Cup final. I wonder who will win that.
Come on, the Pars.
But Jack, now that you're in, we'll keep you in. I heard that there's been some transfer news on Tannadice.
There has, and there's actually quite a bit of rumours as well. United are going to sign Josh Rollins from Melbourne Victory. He's a right-back Australian. I believe he's an under-21 Australian international. Was previously with FC Utrecht, and we've agreed a fee with him, and he's all but set to join us on a pre-contract for next season. We have also been linked with Henry Fieldson from Queen's Park, and I know that Dundee are also linked to him as well. So yeah, I left back from Queen's Park previously at Sunderland, and we've been linked with him. Svelge and Graham, their contracts have been extended, as well as Charlie Dewar. He was linked with Crystal Palace, but I think we're triggering an extension with him, so he'll be staying for an extra year. And lastly, for United, I was scrolling on the forums, and apparently Daniel Arzani has been linked. Ferencváros winger, previously on loan at Celtic from Man City, made one appearance and he snapped his hamstring or something. Was it?
It was against Dundee. Come on against Dundee as a sub here. I'm pretty sure he did his cruise yet.
Yeah.
And never appeared again.
No, well, apparently we were linked to him as well, so that'll be 7 or 8 Australians in the United squad if we get him.
Fuck's sake, I'll be like an episode of Neighbours.
Yeah. Home Alone.
Home and away. Home Alone. Macaulay Culkin set up traps.
Home away, that's the one.
Oh dear. Anyway, we'll we'll move on. Now, I have been asking on the Instagram page for community questions. We do have a community question this week, so thanks very much for sending that in. And going forward, for anyone who's listening, you can text me if you know me, send the channel a message on Instagram, Twitter, reply to our posts, comment on the YouTube video. If you have any community questions, please drop them and we'll do our best to answer them. Anything about Dundee United, anything about our experiences of watching Dundee United, anything at all, and if they're appropriate, we will answer them. If they're not appropriate, we will not answer them. But this week we'll have a question, so it's open to us all. Neil, I'll bring you in first of all, because the question is the same question but obviously asked slightly different to suit the needs of who we support. So Neil, which United player would you sign for Dundee and why?
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. I would probably say the boy Kamara is probably the standout, but I know we slagged the midfield up earlier, the centre midfield, but I would probably take him over anybody else. But Will Ferry always stands out for me. I like the boy. Some United fans might disagree, but I think he's a cracking player. He's maybe we need an out-and-out left back. No a marauding left back, running the length of the field all the time. Although that is the way the modern game's played, I suppose. But yeah, Kamara, don't need him, in my opinion, out of what we've got. I would probably sway towards Will Ferry. So that's a long-winded answer to Will Ferry there.
Okay, now Jack, I'll bring you in. So obviously the same to you, but what Dundee player would you sign and why, Jack?
Right, I'm going to exclude your loan signings because I don't think that's very fair. I'm stuck between two. I'm stuck between Luke Graham, who makes sense in terms of we probably need a centre half. He's young, he's got good selling value. I think he'd be a good signing because we do need a centre half probably. Or Ethan Hamilton, who is a player I've liked for a number of years. I think he's been very good for Dundee this season. Obviously, I've only seen him on highlights or whatnot, but I know what he's about, and I think he's a very good player. I think in terms of what United need, I don't know, because I feel like United need a bit of a creative midfielder, but I'm probably going to go Luke Graham, the safe bet. Young, he's only 22, good selling value, and he could probably slot into that defence, no bother at all.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the obvious answer. So Martin, what about yourself? Obviously Jack's went for Luke Graham. That seems to be the obvious answer, but have you got a curved ball at all?
Okay, so the player that I'd signed from Dundee, I think, is a player that I've spoken about before on the podcast. He is one of Dundee's loan players. It's Cameron Congreve. I think before the last derby when I was on, I did highlight him as a potential sort of danger player against United. I haven't seen much of any Dundee players this season, but from what I have seen of him, he's the kind of player that can sort of get on the ball and run at players. Looking at some of his stats just now, he's got some really good stats for Dundee. He's by far and away the biggest chance creator for Dundee. He's got the most expected assists, which is a stat that really probably is like your expected goals, the amount of chances that he creates on average in a game or whatever. But I think I'd take him based on the fact that he's a good player and he's got the numbers to back it, but also from a fan's point of view, he sounds like the kind of player you actually want to see play, and a boy that'll get the ball running, get the fans on their feet and create big chances.
Yeah, everybody loves a flying winger. As for myself, mine's I reckon might be a wee bit of a curveball. I don't know what you two think of it as United supporters, but I was thinking along the lines of more what Dundee need. I don't think they need. Well, I think they need a goalie, but I'm looking at United's goalies and I'm thinking, would any of them be an improvement? I probably don't think so. I'm looking at their back four. Will Ferry probably would be, but I don't think he's a massive improvement. He is probably a better player than the two players or three players that Dundee play on that side, but I don't think he's going to significantly improve the team. The strikers are the same. I think Sapsford would probably be the best of all the strikers combined, but he's not massively better than Murray or Hay. What I'm thinking is, and it's kind of relating back to what I said earlier in terms of Dundee being, in my opinion, quite vulnerable in the gap between the defenders and the midfielders, and it's the boy Agee I was very impressed with him at the derby at Dens. I thought he'd done a lot of the side of the game that a lot of people don't notice. He broke up the play very well. He then gives the ball on to the more talented players, shall we say, and I think he just done a very good job at that. He does, in my opinion, a far better job than Kamara did. There's only one game. He then played against Celtic, and I thought he was good against them as well. So small sample size, two matches, but two matches that are of high importance for United. One's a derby game, one's a game against Celtic, and he played very well in both of them. So that's who I would probably go for. I don't know what you guys think of that.
I think he's a good player. I've not seen much of him either, but from what I heard in the derby, he was absolutely superb in the middle of the park. Set the pace of play, broke up play when he needed to, pass the ball about to players that can make things happen. Created some play. So yeah, I think that's probably a player that you maybe want in your Dundee team from a creative standpoint. Not so much defensive, but more so attacking.
Definitely. And what about you, Jack? What do you think about my curveball choice?
I think it's a good choice, mate. He's obviously young. He's only 21, I think. Looks about 40, but I think there are a lot of players like that nowadays, to be fair. But yeah, good player, mate. He does run about quite a lot. Likes to get physical. Likes to try and win the ball. And then if that's the position you need, then that's obviously what's best for you, eh?
Definitely.
I've got a point. Sorry, mate. Have you heard the rumours about John McCracken? I don't know if you're going to mention it.
I've heard that Celtic are after him. I don't know how true it is.
Well, yeah. So that was the rumours I've heard, that Celtic, Blackburn, Queen's Park Rangers and Sheffield Wednesday are all after him, which is quite interesting considering you don't rate him at all.
Look, I think that there's potential there,
please,
Jack.
take him.
I never said that. I think there's potential there. I just think that he is young for a goalie, with 25 or something, I suppose, maybe not actually. I don't know, there's just something about him that I just can't seem to take to, and I maybe have been a wee bit harsh in my criticisms over the past, but I do think we can get better than him, but only time will tell. Dundee have not had very good goalies for a while, in my opinion. They obviously had Legsdons for 3 or 4 years. Before that, it was Jack Hamilton. Before that, Scott Bain, Elliot Parish. Scott Bain was a good goalie for Dundee for a while. But it's been a bit of a problem position for Dundee for a while. Hopefully they can get someone in who they have for a few seasons, and that'll be a steady position for us going forward. But we'll move on to just something that I thought we could cover for a few seconds, and that's obviously since we've last recorded, the split fixtures have been announced, and I'm just wondering, especially for us, Neil, because our games will probably have a bit more importance attached to them, what you reckon in terms of how they've landed. I don't think they could have landed really any worse for us. The only thing that I'm a bit miffed at is that we've got to go to Kilmarnock again. I don't think that's particularly fair, given that we've been there twice already and we've had a cup game there. I know that the cup game doesn't really come into the consideration, but it's especially because it's a Tuesday night as well. It's a long way to go on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, the Kilmarnock situation's an absolute farce. It wouldn't have happened in the top 6 if there was a game. I know they're playing for different things, I get that, but they wouldn't allow that to happen in the top 6 to the precious blinking Glasgow lot and the Edinburgh lot. So it's utter nonsense. And somebody in my work said to me the other day, they says, well, you must get Livingston at home for the 3rd time then. I says, yeah, I get where you're coming from there, but it's Livingston. They're pretty much already, they're already down. I'm not too sure mathematically.
They could go down at the weekend.
Aye, well, there you go. That's no an argument in my opinion. It just shouldn't have happened. You're away over to Kilmarnock, as we alluded to earlier. You're playing on that absolute disgrace, quite for just an utter joke of a football pitch, and not to mention, before the split fixtures were done, they're in direct competition with us for that playoffs spot. So it's a huge game, and they would have known that. But being at Little Dundee and Little Kilmarnock, the Ouija lot will no give a monkeys, and they'll certainly not be bothered with us moaning about it. That's for sure. That's the only real
thing. Glasgow.
Of course it is. I mean, it's many Rangers, is it? And Yeah, that's really my only gripe. I think it's good that we get the derby out of the way, because heaven forbid, United had the pleasure of tumbling us into a playoff spot. I still don't think any of going on a bit of a sign, I still don't think any of the Premiership teams will get dragged down over two legs against the Championship, because St Johnstone included, they are absolutely guff down there. It's just, God, the standard's so bad. But that's my only gripe is the Kilmarnock, and it's a pretty obvious gripe.
And as for yourselves, Martin and Jack, I don't know who wants to take this, but obviously the importance isn't really attached to that as much. Obviously you've got the derby, but happy enough with your split fixtures? I suppose you will be, Martin, what you said earlier.
Yeah, like I touched on earlier, it's went quite well for me. Obviously you've got the derby at Tannadice, so I'll be able to I have got a ticket for that one, whereas if I was at Dens, not being the season ticket holder anymore, I would have been resigned to Premier Sports for that one. The two sort of Glasgow-ish based teams, Kelly and St Mirren, they're both away on Saturdays. Kilmarnock's away on a Saturday, the last game of the season. St Mirren, that's the Sunday, but I'll hopefully be able to get to the two of them. Was looking at tickets for the Kilmarnock game earlier on, and there's really not been that many sold. I think the appetite for away games is maybe dying off now that there's not much to play for. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the way the games have fallen in that post split. Start off with a derby, hopefully 3 points, and then just a couple of good away days between now and the end of the season.
Quite right, you can't beat a good away day, but we're here to speak about the derby. Now, I'll probably do what I don't usually do, and I'll put my thoughts in to begin with, and then the floor's your guys. I'm not going to direct a question to any of you. You could all take over and speak to your heart's content. Last time out, I was super concerned as a Dundee supporter about how everybody in the narrative was that Dundee were expected to win, and it was all Dundee are playing really well, they're not picking up as many points as they might be, they've won the last derby, United are on a massive downward spiral, they're not playing very well, it's at Dens, Dundee will come into this game as favourites, they're expected to win. Nightmare scenario as a Dundee supporter, nightmare scenario, and it proved to be the case. Dundee got out of jail in that last derby. How they got a point for that game, I'll never ever figure out. United architects their own downfall, in my opinion. Dundee didn't have to do very much to get themselves 2 goals in injury time, when that's when it should be you're defending at your best. This time round, I'm not. I wouldn't say I was confident by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a bit more relaxed in terms of that's not the narrative. There doesn't seem to be this whole clamour because Dundee are playing so well. It's more along the lines of it's a 50-50 shout. Now, one thing I will say is that United are obviously going to be missing, and I'm sure you guys will be able to fill us in on this, 2 other better players than Stevenson and Fata. I think somebody else is maybe suspended, and there might be another injury or 2, and that's not a good thing for Dundee, because when United are no expected to win in terms of they're losing other players, that's when Dundee decided they didn't want to turn up as well. So that concerns me a wee bit, but I went into the last one at Tannadice and I wasn't very hopeful, and Dundee played very well in the first half especially. They got their goal and they defended relatively well and they got their win. What I will say is that if we were to win 3 times in a row at Tannadice, it's probably unheard of. That's another thing you need to take into consideration. But all in all, a lot more comfortable is probably my attitude going into this one. So the floor is your guys. You can argue amongst yourselves.
I think this game is very much, I feel like, a must-win for Dundee. Obviously, a derby game is always going to be a must-win regardless. But as we've mentioned previously, Dundee are still in that relegation fight. Okay, they're probably more than likely going to be safe, I feel like. I think your team's good enough to stay up. And United seem to be safe. Looking at United's fixtures, I think they are difficult coming up. So I feel there probably is a bit of emphasis on the Dundee game to get a good win and guarantee our safety. But I think Dundee's going to be more up for it, in my opinion. It's very much I think it's going to be a close game. I think ultimately I see it being a draw. I just think, knowing these types of games, I think it's going to be a scrappy affair, and if there is going to be a winner, I think it's just going to be by 1 goal. But yeah, I'm back on a draw with this one. United, as you mentioned, missing Fata and Stevenson, so I'm guessing Ferrugia, and I don't know if Namo's back or not, so I'm guessing Strain will be playing out at right back. Hopefully they can make an impact. Strain, not the player we thought he would be when we signed him, but I'm sure he can still do a job, and Ferrugia seems decent when he comes on. He's probably a bit slow for Scottish football in my opinion, but he's got something about him anyway, and he can cause problems. So I think we'll see how they get on. If we get a win, we get a win. If we draw, which I think we will, I'm not concerned at all. Obviously, defeat's not ideal, but it's a derby and anything goes in derbies. So
I think I have to agree with Jack there. This was proved in the last podcast that I was on. My predictions for the derbies aren't really the best. I think I'll let emotion take over my thoughts for the games coming up, when really a bit more of a level head looking at the game would be beneficial for me. I always as I've told you before, that the arrogance and cockiness of my past derby experiences, give me the sense of, it's Dundee, we'll beat them, we'll not get beat. That's less and less the case these days, but I actually can't call it. I think what Dundee have got in their favour is, I think Dundee have maybe got a bit more to play for than United. I think United are safe. United are over that line of not having to worry about the playoff, at their ankles. But Dundee, I think, are very close to getting over that line, but just aren't over that line yet. So I think Dundee have probably got more to play for. And if they can get themselves fired up on that point, then that could really sting United, because, as I've said a few times on the podcast this season, we struggle to get out of bed sometimes. Never mind get up for a football game, it's just, it depends on what United team turn up. It depends on what the Dundee team turn up. It can be a very good Dundee team. It can be a Dundee team that we had in the last derby for 90 minutes that really just are non-existent. But you know what I mean. For me, it's too close to call.
Yeah, I'm with Martin and Andrew on this. It's such a tight one, and I'm swaying towards what Andrew as well, in terms of a wee bit more relaxed about this. No one's expecting Dundee to go in and win this. It's a better feeling. I said that in the last podcast. It's a terrible feeling going into a derby expecting to win, and it's not something that happens to Dundee very often. So when it does happen, as Andrew likes to put it, you're a bag of jaggies before the game. To be honest with you, a draw sounds boring to say, but probably got draw written all over it. Dundee need to watch themselves, because they've got they've got everything to play for. They know a win pretty much makes them safe. I think 4 points certainly does. Kind of see, Kilmarnock winning all their games, and really putting Dundee under the cosh. I'd go for a draw. It'd be nice. Has anyone seen Congreve, by the way, since the last derby? Is he down in Wales, or is he back home visiting family? Because the boy's been non-existent since. I don't know. His name's been on the team sheet, but I've certainly not seen him.
I think that's harsh, Neil, because Dundee's threats and a lot of the success they've had this season has come from their width, and it comes from Congreve and Uganda, and teams have wisened up to it, and they're doubling up on them every week now, eh?
I agree with you. That's probably what's happening. But since the first 20 minutes of the last derby, I've not seen him. He's not turned up. Now that might be down to that. He is getting. It happened to the boy from Liverpool, a left back. His name completely escapes me at the moment. But the team's got wise to him, didn't it? That's the one. And they started doubling up on him as well. And he had not a shocker of a second stint after Christmas, but it certainly wasn't near as effective as the first one. That might be the case, and he's been brilliant for Dundee, so I don't really like slagging him off, but he's been non-existent since that derby, or since the first 20 minutes of that derby, so it'd be the perfect game to come back and prove me wrong and really give me the big twos up, I'm more than happy for him to do that, but I think it could likely be a draw. But Dundee they do not need to get too excited about this too early doors. Come out, be calm, hopefully be collected, and just see how the game goes. First 15-20 minutes, and if United are there for the taking, go for it. and see what happens. But I think it's got kind of draw written all over it, which wouldn't necessarily be a complete disaster for Dundee, that's for sure.
I just think they need to use the last derby at Dundees as the blueprint. They played absolutely brilliant. It was one of the best performances of the season they had that first half. Obviously, United have done their homework, and the way that United played against Dundee at Dens was a lot different. I'm not blaming this in any way, shape or form for Dundee's performance, because Dundee were poor that day, and that's their fault, right? So there's no... I'm not using this as any sort of excuse. I'm just saying that the one of the factors in their performance, and their overall factor in the performance was themselves. One of the factors in the performance on that game at Dens was how bad the wind was, because, and I'll qualify that. So United were pushing Dundee right up the pitch, and they were using. We all said it before the game. If United go 3-5-2, Dundee will kill them with width, and they didn't, because they couldn't get their wide players far enough up the pitch to cause them any problems. And when they went long, especially in the second half, McCracken especially was just booting the ball out the pitch out for a goal kick at the other side because the wind. Now, if they learn from that, and they maybe push their wingers further up and try and pin the fullbacks back and give United something to think about and gamble a bit more, I reckon that they'll find joy from that. But look, Dundee will use that and try and find weaknesses in how United played against them, and it's a game of chess. It's a game of chess, but I think that they could certainly learn from how they went about that performance, because they were, especially in the second half, they started off not too bad for the first half an hour or so, but the last hour of that game at Dens, they were terrible. It's one of the worst performances they've had since the beginning of the season.
Yeah, absolutely correct, Andrew. And just on a wee side note, because of the way the game ended, obviously emotions were running high, especially from both sides probably, but for different reasons. And just another highlight. I hope this doesn't come back to bite me in the arse on Sunday, but we went to the boozer after it, and it was a predominantly orange boozer. And honestly, there was no bother, there was no arguments. Everyone was just, sipping, having a pint, talking about the game. And see, when you compare it to those knuckle draggers out in the Glasgow City Derby, it's just night and day. It's such a great example. It doesn't get the credit it deserves, the Dundee Derby. Before and after the game, I think it's brilliant. And if you want to charge them £33 a ticket every time, God, I'd be more inclined to go every time. Like,
yeah, it's certainly good. I mean, I know a lot of people want hatred and all that. I mean, you've got all these negs who wear the fucking stupid balaclavas and want to have a bit of trouble. They could fuck right off. And the boy that runs the Dundee show page on Instagram or whatever put it really well the last time when that happened. That's not how we do it in Dundee. That's not how we do it. So it's a good thing to finish up on the rimmed up. But just before we move on to a couple of other things to finish off the podcast, Jack, I need to take your score prediction, mate.
I'm going to go... I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1. Well, I've went for 2-0 United. Shows my confidence in my mental scars from all the derbies that I've been to throughout my life.
How many times have you seen Dundee win at Dundees?
3 times now, after the past 2.
Well, you've got a chance.
The first time I saw them win, I was actually with Neil. It was me, Neil and my dad. And it was the game where John Sutton scored for Dundee and Steve Lover scored a penalty. And we're in the old wooden seats in the old main stand. That's how long it was. The wooden seats were still there.
Christ.
Okay, so we've done that. So next of all, it is the Futbology Challenge. Now, we're coming into the end of the season for that now. So it'll be a very nip and tuck till the last few weeks, see if me or Martin can win this league. As for this week, Jack, yourself and Martin, you both had forfeit weeks, so I did have a game. I had a choice of 4 different games. 2 were going to be wins, 2 were going to be defeats. Thankfully I picked up one of the wins, so that was from Sunday, April the 20th, 2003. Inverness 0, Dundee 1 at Hampden Park in the Scottish Cup semi-final. The managers were John Robertson and Jim Duffy. The starting 11 for Cally Thistle was Brown, Tokley, Golobeck, Mann, McCaffrey, McBain, Duncan, Wyness, Ritchie, Hart and Robson. And for the substitutes they were Christie, Bagan, Stewart, Keel and Fraser. As for Dundee, they went with Speroni, Hernandez, Keeshnasvili, Mackay, Wilkie, Brady, Nimzadze, Ray, Caballero, Lovell and Milne. And on the bench, Langfield, Mayer, Beath, Robb and Novo. And the scorer was Nimzadze on 78 minutes. That was my first time ever at Hampden to watch Dundee. The only time I've ever seen Dundee win at Hampden. The only ever time I've seen Dundee score at Hampden. So they made their way through to the Scottish Cup final that day. And that leaves the table looking like this, as you can see on screen. 35 matches played for us all. I'm currently sitting on 43 points, Martin's on 41 and Jack is on 23. So a few weeks left and we'll know the winner of the first ever Futbology challenge on the Sandeman Street podcast. But now, what I think everybody's probably been waiting for, I've certainly been waiting for it, to get some revenge. It is the last derby quiz of the season. Now we've had two already this season, it's currently 1-1. It is myself and Neil against Jack and Martin. 5 questions about Dundee, 5 questions about United, and then 5 questions relating to each team with derby kind of themed to it. So, Jack, as you're the current champions, would you like to go first or second?
Let's go first.
Okay. And would you like to nominate Martin to go first, or would you like to go first yourself?
Martin, do you have any preference?
You're the regular, mate. I'll let you pick.
I'll go first then, why not?
Okay. So, you are going first. So, Jack, question number 1. Who scored United's first goal of 2026?
The year 2026?
Yep.
Oh. Fuck. Amir Fatah.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
Martin, would you like to try?
Sapsford.
No, it was Nikolai Molar.
Oof.
Okay, right, Neil, you can go first for my team, or our team. So, Jack, when you're ready.
Claudio Caniggia made his debut against which club?
Right, hope I'm not going to make arse of myself here, but I was at this game, I believe it was Aberdeen away.
Correct.
Happy days. Right, Andrew, that's me done my job, mate. I'm off.
Okay, Martin, I believe it is. Who is United's second all-time most expensive signing?
Player that we've signed.
Yep, so your record signing is Stephen Presley. Who's second?
Dylan Levitt, maybe?
Nope.
No.
Jack, would you like to
Is
try?
it Bowman?
It wasn't. It was Danny Griffin.
Oh, Gretna.
No, 900,000 euros, I think it was, from St Johnstone.
Damn.
Okay.
God, we suck. Right, okay.
Splashing the cash.
Yeah. Right, Andy. Dundee moved to Dens Park in 1899, but where did they play before?
Carolina Port.
Correct.
Oh, there we go.
Didn't even know it existed.
Down beside the docks, you know where the ferry road meets Dock Street, and it goes down the Bray, just
right.
over towards the docks from there.
All right, fair.
Okay, question number 3 to Jack. Who scored for United in the UEFA Cup final?
Fuck. Barron?
Nope, it was John Clark.
Sorry, Martin.
Oh, it's nowhere night, is it?
No, it's no. Right. Neil, who was Dundee's first ever game against?
I know that.
No idea whatsoever. Take a stab at you guys.
No, it was
weren't even-
Glasgow Rangers.
They weren't even formed then.
Yeah.
Whatever Mickey Mouse club they were called before Dundee United.
Dundee Harp,
Yeah.
I think the answer was to that. Right.
Right.
That's me. Martin, sorry.
It's Martin. So, Martin, which 21st century United manager has the lowest loss percentage?
So it's one of these ones where you could easily jump to a name and think it's obviously him and it's not.
Yeah.
Kim, what I'm going to say. I'm going to say Robbie Nielsen for that season in the Championship when we won every week.
He was second. It is Ray McKinnon.
Ray McKinnon. Christ.
22.22%.
Jesus. Right, okay. Andy, Dundee were formed by the merger of two clubs. Name them.
Oh, right. So one of them was Our Boys.
Yep.
And was it East End?
Correct.
Oh, well done, Andy. I would never have got that.
You watch the Dundee History DVD. Okay.
Aye, if I'm struggling for sleep, mate, I'll give it a bash.
It's a great cure for insomnia. Is it Jack? Yep, it is Jack. How many Premiership goals did Sam Dalby score last season?
A number came to my head straight away, and I don't know if I'm undercooking it or overcooking it. Right, I'm just going to go with my gut. 14.
Oh, off the post, it was 15.
Fuck!
Close.
Oh well, right. Neil, Dundee broke the Scottish transfer record by paying £23,500 for a forward from Derby County in September 1950. What was his name?
Mate, no idea, mate. Absolutely not
Neil.
a Scooby. 1950.
Neil.
No, obviously it's quite obvious going on Andrew's reaction. God almighty, mate. Andrew, you need to stop reading all these books, mate.
No, Grandad will be burling in each box.
Because you probably watched them, Christ, that wasn't even a thought in my dad's ballsack at that point.
Your dad wasn't even a
That
thought
wasn't
of
even
Grandad's box sack.
Yeah, sorry, Andrew. Honestly, I didn't even know what to guess here, mate. No idea.
I'll take it as a pass then.
Yeah.
Andy, do you want to answer?
Billy Steele.
That's correct, yep.
That obviously the name's fucking obvious now, like, but no, I would never have got that. Sorry, Andy.
That's alright, we're 3 to the good going into the second half. So, this one's for Martin. Question number 6, your first of the Derby questions. In metres, how far apart are Dens and Tannadice? I'll give you a grace of 5 each way.
114.
Oh, you're miles off. 183.
Well, I'm going to have to change some of my questions because that was all of them.
We've got a reserve bank of questions here.
No, I'm going to have to look some up. Well, just go ahead now and then I'll change it later. Right. I think this is Andy, yeah?
Yep.
Who was the last Dundee player to be sent off in a derby?
Oh, that's a good question. One springs to mind straight away, and I'm trying to think if anybody's been sent off since him. Nobody's been sent off in that game.
I've got a couple in my head, but I can remember their faces, but I can't mind their names,
So I think somebody's been sent off more recently than Conrad. He definitely got sent off in one of them, and there's one more recently that I know. I'm trying to think if anybody has been sent off since the one I'm thinking of. Would anybody have been sent off in that disaster of a First Division season? Don't think so. In the season we got promoted from the playoffs after COVID, can't think of that. Last season, I'm going to go Scott Bain, Jack.
Correct.
Oh.
That's a great shout, Andy. Absolutely brilliant shout.
Right, question 7, Jack. This is a really hard question. I would be very surprised if you get this. Who scored United's first derby goal of the 21st century?
Fuck.
Come on, Jack.
You care, man, do you?
I'm pretty certain I do, but if I have to answer it, I'll obviously get it wrong.
By the way, you need this to have any chance of even drawing the quiz.
I can't even think of any players. I've got one player in my mind, and it was definitely no hand. Okay, I played for us then. Let's go. Fuck it, Derek McInnes.
Nope. Martin?
Nah, I can't. I'm really enough.
The other scorers in the game for you was Craig Easton and Jim Laughlin. But it was Hugh Davidson was the answer.
Hugh Davidson. Wouldn't I got that?
No.
Okay, Neil, you're
Okay.
up.
How many goals have Dundee scored against United in competitive fixtures? And I'll give you ±10 for that.
Nice. Since when? Like, forever?
Since forever, yeah.
You need to give me a +50 or 100, mate. Never mind +10.
I'll give you +25.
Still no.
You wouldn't be doing that if it was tight.
Christ almighty. I'm going to go 187.
259.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Right, Martin, here's one that I reckon that you probably will get.
Okay.
The last friendly Dundee derby that took place at Tannadice ended 3-1 United. Name the goal scorers for United that night.
The last friendly at Tannadice. I'm going to say that would be Danny Cadamarteri, Andy Shala, and Scott Robertson.
Is that your final answer?
No, John Daly, sorry. Cadamarteri, Shala, and Daly.
There we go, correct. You've not the whitewash.
We're doing it for the team. Consolation.
Okay,
right.
Jack.
Um,
For me, isn't it?
yeah. The lowest attendance of any Dundee derby was a 1-1 draw on the 5th of February 1994. What was the attendance? And I'll give you ±200.
Oh, right, okay. I was reading this the other day when I was doing this quiz. See, that's the problem when we're both doing similar quizzes, so we're both going for the same stuff. I reckon it's 7,350.
Oh, 7,645.
Oh, right, okay.
That's mental, that a Dundee derby could get such a low crowd.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, right. Mine's is number 9 for Jack. I'll let you off with, you can miss out 2. Name United starting 11 from the last draw. The last derby, 2-2 draw at Dens. You need the starting 11. I'll let you off if you get 9.
Fuck it, I tell you what.
By the way, that's pretty easy.
Right, okay, hold on, right. Well, till draw at Dens, right.
Yeah, it was a month ago.
Yeah, so, goalie was AWB, Then you got A and B, sorry. Maynard Brewer, I think.
Okay, I'll take him out.
And then you got Graham.
Yep.
Yuvu.
Yep.
I'm guessing Kucherenko.
Kucherenko.
Not Kucherenko. Crestes.
Yep. By the way, you could throw names out. You didn't.
I'm just working for the team.
Yeah. I'm going to feel you.
Will Ferry.
Yep.
Stevenson.
Yep.
Kamara.
Nope.
Well, Fat will be there.
Yep.
Sapsford.
Nope.
No, Waters.
No. Oh, yeah, he's there.
Chevelle.
Yep. You've got 2 to get.
So
you've got that right.
what?
Well, I said if you get 9, I'll give you the point.
Yeah. So I've got that already.
You've still got 2 to get. But you've got the point.
Agui.
Yep.
And what position have I not got? Striker. Midfielder. Frazier.
Yep. Bingo. All of them.
Alright, okay. Right, so I think it's Neil next, eh?
Yep.
Who was the last Dundee player to score a brace in the derby?
Brace. Oh, a name strikes away. It's I might be going back too far. Lovell, Stevie Lovell.
Oh, way too far.
Nah. Andy, got an answer?
I reckon.
Oh Christ! I know exactly who it is. Boy, we just punted a Motherwell, innit?
Correct.
Yeah, Jordan McGee. Yeah,
Jordan McGee.
Last season. Yeah.
Yeah, that's stupid. I was just thinking that. I went back far too far.
That's been some move for him, by the way. Anyway.
But he's close to his family.
Question 10 for Martin. Yep, Martin. Mm-hmm. This is, by the way, my source is Wikipedia here. In what year did United win their first ever derby?
Are you talking like United or like the whole time? Hibs as well, Dundee Hibs.
Dundee Hibs and United are counted as the same thing. I don't actually think Dundee ever played Dundee Hibs. Jack, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, in a competitive game.
I don't think so.
1928.
Oh, 27.
Oh, you bastard.
Right. Well, I've just come up with a question on the spot. Andy, don't scroll down any further. Who was the last player to cross the divide between the two clubs?
Oh, I asked this the last time, didn't I know?
No,
I didn't. It was I asked it who was the last one to go from Dundee to United. Paul McMullen.
Correct. Oh well, that was an absolute disaster for us.
It wasn't actually that bad.
We didn't turn up tonight, did we?
No.
It wasn't that bad in terms of the actual scoreline.
Just so you know, guys, I would have given you a few more grace periods or grace either side there. Andrew was pretty hard taskmaster.
I think getting that one out by 1 year was a bit tight, like, yeah.
I would have given you 5 either side at least. Well done, Andy.
Thank you. After the last quiz, I thought it was quite fair there. So that finished 5-2 to us, Neil. So not actually that much of a difference in the end. But yeah, we take back the bragging rights after losing them the last time. Okay, so that is the end of the quiz and the end of the episode. So thanks very much to you all for joining us, and thanks very much to everybody who's listened. I hope you enjoyed the quiz and played along at home or wherever you're listening. Just before we go, the usual roll call for our socials. If you could follow us on Twitter at SandemanSTPod, on Instagram at The Sandeman Street Pod, and on YouTube at The Sandeman Street Podcast. Thanks very much for listening. Take care and have a great weekend. Cheers.